glasses, I'll let you know.
What's up, riders? Kevin Wilson with the BMXers podcast. Thank you very much for taking the time to stop by and to watch my videos and enjoy BMX as much as we do. This is everybody's one and only stop for old school BMX memories, trivia, and parts and that type of thing. So thank you very much for stopping by. Today I have a really cool guest on. This gentleman, he commented on a couple of my videos, very insightful comments, and I was like, dude, you got to come on the podcast. So I'm very pleased to have Danny V on the podcast. Thanks, Danny, for coming on, bro.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. Very cool, man. It's an honor. Like I said, it's an honor to be here. Thank you for letting me come on.
No problem.
You've had some real big names on here, so I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, you gotta live up to your predecessors, bro.
Ooh, oh my God, it's an honor. I don't even know what to say.
Danny and I are about the same. I think we are the same age. So we were both 80, 85. Well, when we got out of high school, right, Danny?
Yes, sir.
So we should have a lot to talk about. We were both pretty fast 17 experts, but Danny actually made the jump to pro where I didn't make the jump to pro. So I definitely want to talk to Danny about that. But Danny, thanks a lot, man. So you're from Seattle. Do I have that right?
Yeah, I grew up in Bellevue, the east side. We called it Swellview.
Swellview,
yeah.
Nice, dude.
Yeah, middle class doldrums. We'll talk about that too. Yeah.
So I guess there's there's a couple different avenues for people to get into BMX. One is like mini bikes, that type of thing, motorcycle type of thing, or another family member raced or that type of thing. How did you get involved with BMX? I got involved with BMX through mini bikes and that type of thing. How'd you do it?
Cool. Well, I was different approach. I came from Boy Scouts, and my dad was Scoutmaster, and I was really involved with my troop, and we'd go on hiking and then we'd go on bike runs to Whidbey Island, Bainbridge, around the Juan de Fuca and all this, the Seattle area. And the biking sort of built my aerobics and my legs, what I had of legs and type of thing. But I started seeing kids in my high school or junior high school with some really cool BMX bikes. And then I was able to get my hands on BMX Action, BMX Plus, and just start thumbing through. And like, I wanted to go that direction. So even though my dad was upset at the moment, he understood that I dropped out of Scouts and went full into the BMX thing. So,
what year are we talking about, dude?
81, 82, probably.
Okay.
Probably 80s. Like, I grew up in Seattle most of my life, so that was my base. I went to Tyee Junior High, then Newport, then BCC, then Wazoo, and then Army. You're Marine, I'm Army, so there's that.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, there you go. You get you guys got a Bridman for throwing a grenade.
Yeah, I was just a grunt, sir, just like you. We're who and you're hoorah, right? Yeah. What are you doing?
So you weren't a 70s guy then. You were an 80s guy for sure, all the way through.
Yeah, 80s was the era. It's still my favorite era. I mean, the music that I like is still from that time. I'm not knocking any of the contemporaries, but that was really good rock, really good metal, really good thrash, whatever. And grunge was coming up. I mean, sidebarring into music. I wasn't really in the grunge except for Soundgarden, which was Sabbath influenced. But I mean, I play my own metal guitar now, and I'm self-taught. I'm learning from YouTube videos and such. But I just love. All I'm doing on that guitar is trying to imitate the sounds that I liked when I was in high school from those bands like UFO, Sabbath, Maiden, Priest, all that hard.
Number of the Beast, man. Number of the Beast.
Yeah, that was a great album. I'm learning Wrathchild off the first one right now on the guitar. So, but yeah,
nice, dude.
There's so many good musicians. Eddie Van Halen era, Yngwie, Ronnie James Dio. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Lemmy, dude. You know. I mean, come on.
Nice, dude. So what in your group with I would assume that you rode with a crew like we all did. What bike brands were popular when you were coming up in 81, 82 in your area? Like with my crew, SC was everything. Quad Angles, PK Rivers, Global Flyers. That's what we all had. What did you guys have up there?
Okay, so Seattle, I went to Wally's Bike Shop on Belred Road. It's over by the first Microsoft campus. It was a little BMX bike shop, and a lot of SE, a lot of PK, a lot of kids in my high school. I had one kid had a Gold Ripper, one kid had a white one with blue letters, like the Buff or the Trick Team bike. I think Buff or Haro. No, yeah, Buff had that. But I always thought the quad angle was a weird one. I know it's super strong, but I was like, I wouldn't want to rack myself on that crossbar. Oh my god, that thing looked. But it was cool. But back to the bikes. A lot of Hutch, Redline. That's where I gravitated toward. I like the Pro line. Personally, the Redline had Lynn Caston had a warranty where if you cracked the frame, you could mail it back to Newbury Park here, and they'd send you a new frame. And I did that several times, and forks. And I mean, that alone, that was like, that kept me like, and that I was a taller guy. Was 6. I'm still around 6'1". So I like the big frame, that Stu Thompson. I like the Pro line. But there was, so Mongoose, other kids were riding. Boss was out there. I remember Huffy was making a big thing in the stores, the discount stores. I'm trying to remember all the brands, but I just
that's cool.
what I liked,
What was your first brand? What did you? So Redline wasn't your first bike, was it?
No, well, like many kids in the '80s, my first bike was a Schwinn Stingray with a banana seat and sissy bars.
In '81, you were on a Schwinn Stingray.
It was around the time I transferred off a 10-speed out of Scouts, and that was what they got me. So I was just grateful. But I learned how to skid, basically. Lean back. That's what that thing was for, man. Yeah, that was about it. But after seeing BMX bikes, and I felt like I was on a girl's bike, and I like the quickness. I like just what a bike could do. It appealed to me that I could do more with that than a 10-speed or a banana seat. So I wasn't really into tricks. I got into dirt jumping, and building dirt jumps with. I'll mention some friends from Bellevue if you want to go there.
Yeah, dude, shout them out.
Well, okay, so we had a track in Crossroads in the '80s behind a church parking lot. I don't remember exactly, but it was in the Crossroads area of Bellevue. And Kent Lowry, he was number 1. I think he was a regional number 1 ABA rider. I was with the ABA too. And I was just a squirrely expert. Back to my pro thing, that was like 3 months. I think I won $60 as a B pro. I just, wanted to test the water, and that water was too deep for me. So I just stayed a beginner, intermediate, expert class for when I started up till that point. And my time on BMX with ABA was 82 to 89-ish. But anyway, Kent Lowry was instrumental, and some of his friends, Todd Skidmore, Chris Bradley. I have no idea where these folks are now, but I wish them well. Kent especially, he knew how to make jumps, and he taught me a lot, and he got me kind of into the racing part of it. Kent's dad worked in an auto shop, and he had some really interesting stuff. He had something that I don't know if you've ever seen, but do you remember Ashtabula?
Yeah.
Okay, they were like on the Mongoose, a super heavy steel. The single bolt gooseneck, the skinny JMC looking forks.
Yeah.
Well, Kent showed up at a race with some. Remember, Ashtabula was black.
Yeah.
Right, iron. It was like skillet. I don't know what they made.
Yeah,
it was like unbreakable stuff. He showed up with some 205 millimeter chrome dipped Ashtabula cranks. And that was his secret. And I kept bugging him. I want a pair. It never happened. The best I did was 185 flight cranks that Clarence Perry broke, by the way, at a Sumner moto. He borrowed, as I told you, he borrowed my bike in a moto, sidebar brushwood frame. But the Earthquake, he needed a bike. He saw mine. It looked like he could use it. And so I let him borrow it and out of the gate, it snapped, and he snapped the flight crank on the right side where the pedal joins the bottom by the pedal hole. That was totally broke off. And he was very apologetic, very cool, very professional, very cool dude. And he happened to work at what was Seattle Bike Supply in the day. And he actually got me a fresh set of flight cranks. So So if Earthquake's out there, props, dude. You were so cool, dude. Even though it was like shocking seeing those flights snap. I've never seen that before. So
do that. Yeah, I cracked my cranks out of the gate one time too. But what I want to know about, so you get your Schwinn, and then at some point you upgrade to another bike and you start building jumps and stuff like that around Bellevue. Yeah. What was your first upgrade?
Oh, from the Stingray, I think it was a red line. It was a white with red sticker, probably the mid-range model. I think every time I got a bike, it wasn't like a whole bike from a bike shop. I'd get parts and piece them together because I didn't have all the money to just go throw down $500. In '85, that was like 10 grand a day to me, as a kid. So it was paper route, pizza delivery, whatever jobs I could do, mowing lawns and stuff, just socking away some money. I was never one for like dressy clothes or flashy stuff. So it was pretty easy for a kid to save money if you put your head down, do your jobs. And so it was Redline. Everything I was inspired by was in the BMX mags, BMX Plus, BMX Action, and then going to races and like seeing how watching Kent Lowry again, just watching him and his friends ride and then just trying to copy that. It was monkey see, monkey do, most of it. And I was pretty squirrely even as a jumper, but I was really trying to improve the squirreliness. But that's transitioned today into paddle surfing. And we'll talk about that later, but trajectory of athletics. So the BMX really just at the beginning here is it really laid down a framework for future athletic endeavors and martial arts stuff I got into, and just anything having to do with balance, coordination. A BMX bike to me is it's like a balance tool, not unlike nunchucks to a martial artist or a surfboard to a surfer. It's a device. It can be a workhorse. It can be a work of art. It can be functional and beautiful. Not too esoteric. Yeah. It's many things, and my bikes usually were the workhorse. They got the job done. I wasn't trying to be too flashy. As a matter of fact, a lot of those red lines I had, I'd take all the stickers off. I just thought it looked cool. Maybe more chrome shiny or something. I don't know, but I was impressed by. Can I talk about Ronnie Anderson real quick?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So what I did when I started racing was looking at the pros' bikes, or at least getting as close as I could. Sometimes they had a pit area where you couldn't really go beyond an area, but sometimes they'd just be leaning up on a fence. And this is before iPhones, or you're not walking around with a camera. So you're just kind of taking a mental photograph of what you see. And I remember seeing Ronnie Anderson's bike at Sumner BMX leaning up on a wall. And I was looking at it, and it reminded me of like, those pool cues called the sleepers where they unscrew in half, but they look like a barroom pool cue. That's called a sleeper, right? A sleeper cue, that bike was like a sleeper. Like it had all the right stuff on it, but it looked like a hunk of junk the way he had it dressed up. He had grab-on grips on it, and it was. I could tell looking at the frame. It was an extra long frame. It looked like there was weld stains, like it got TIGged or MIG welded the night before, like someone like Frankenstein put it together. But it looked clean, man. It was. I just have that visual of that bike at that race. I'll never forget it. Obviously, all the pros had access to the best stuff. I saw Pistol Pete's bike and Gary Ellis, of course, the great Gary Ellis, and all those JG Garanzik and some of the Hutch guys. I liked the Hutch XL frame, by the way, as a sidebar. I was really drawn to the longer tube frame, but for me, I just kept sticking with Redline for whatever reason. So I forgot where I was going with that.
No, it's cool, dude. You upgrade. I think you probably upgraded to an MX2, Redline MX2. Probably that was the one, the frame that you got.
Yeah.
How do you? Okay, so I'm asking this question because of personal reason.
Sure.
Before I actually saw a track, we were building jumps and berms in the local dirt lots. But the first time I saw a real track, dude, I was like, "Oh my God, dude, look at this berm!" What was your impression? What was your first race like? How did your whole BMX racing career start out? On a good note or a bad note?
It was all good. I was obviously frustrated. I didn't win more than I did. And I was, again, dealing with the squirreliness aspect because I'm a tall, gangly guy, jumping and just trying to be coordinated and in sync and trying to copy the pictures in the magazines and all that. But I have a list. I believe that there was like 4 tracks in the Seattle area that I'd go to races at. The closest one to my house was Bothell. And then SeaTac, the Burien Airport, was a downhill track that was really cool. And they had jumping contests there too. I saw JG Garanzik work some magic there. I think he was Hutch or GT back in the day, but him and those guys were really good. But Bothell track, SeaTac, Sumner, which is also called River Valley BMX. That's where I saw a lot of the pros and the Crazy Ronnie bike and just watching Gary Ellis. And I watched Ronnie psych out Stu Thompson at that track. I'll tell you about that later. But also, I mean, just I saw a lot of stuff, like just brushes and just walking by seeing stuff. It was really cool. But also Monroe had a Cow Palace by the prison, Monroe, Washington, and it was an indoor one. That was pretty cool. That was for nationals and certain races. It wasn't always open because it was for rodeo and stuff. But and then me and friends would take a road trip down to Eugene or Clackamas, and there was BMX tracks there. But those were basically the 4: Bothell, Sumner, SeaTac, and Monroe, Washington. Those were the tracks I'd travel to go to races, usually an hour or so away or less from Bellevue. So
how'd you do your first race, dude?
I probably got 3rd or 4th, maybe. I was a beginner. I don't remember. I honestly don't remember. And then the trophies that I had, we bring them to that track, in the homemade track in the east side of Crossroads, and we give them to the kids. So we had a bunch of, and we used those kids to help build the track. So it was kind of like, here's a prize for helping. But so yeah, we had a manual 2-man starting gate. Like one dude had to hold the gate up with there was like a 2x4 nailed to it. It was sort of, everything was primitive back then, as you know. But it was so much fun, just making the, by the way, on that track in Bellevue, I met Rob Potter and Bart McDaniel. And Bart McDaniel's, he's a lesser known pro, but he was so good. I remember watching him race. Very stylish. He was probably 140 pounds, maybe 5'7" or something. But he was super fast. I think he rode JMCs. I don't remember. And then Rob Potter was a GT guy. He might have had a semi sponsor. I don't remember, but they were at that track all the time. And of course, Kent Lowry and some of his friends. We were just all a little pack that were there fairly regularly. And I was just trying to work on the speed jumping. And this is back to BMX Plus BMX Action as sort of a fan of BMX while doing BMX. I was just trying to copy the pictures. Like when I saw Crazy Ronnie doing those Evel Knievel tucks, having your chin over the, just the Evel Knievel jump style. I remember he talked about
rubbing your visor on the front tire, dude.
That was sick. Him with the bell helmet, and I mean, they were just so cool. Just they were so good, man. And this was before clip-ins, and I don't, and I've got mad respect for all the modern BMX going on. I realized how much out of the loop I was when I went into my friend. I want to give a quick shout out to Omega Bicycles, Oceanside, California. It's about 10 minutes from here. The folks in there, they're really, really, there's stacks of old BMX magazines. Just go in there and it's cool. They're old school too. But I just want to give a shout out to them. And
nice, dude.
But when I knew I was an old fart was when I walked up to the part counter for BMX parts, and the goosenecks, back when we put them in, they went in the fork, and that you did a socket, winch them down with that little wedge at the bottom. Now there's like 2 Allen bolts, and they just go on top of the fork. It's like times have changed, man.
Yeah.
That's a little thing that I never had. That would have been great back then,
Yeah, no more Astor Bueller single clamp stems, dude.
Oh my God.
So did you run 3 beginner races to intermediate, 3 intermediate races to expert, or did you prolong your expert run?
I think I was an expert the longest time, maybe 16 or 17X. I don't remember the progression of races. It was just, I just went to the next level to get there, but I don't remember exactly. That's a little hazy for me. I remember I do remember ABA had a magazine, like a newspaper with all the listings of, so you could find out what number you put on your plate. And I was like 648, then I was like 240 something, and 119 was as high as I got, or as low as I got, number wise. So again, it wasn't, I wasn't meant for stardom, but I had a good time, dude. Yeah. Free agent.
So I started in '83 as a 16-year-old, and I immediately went in and started racing 16 expert. Well, I was racing 16 experts as a 16 beginner. So yeah, I was always used to losing and just trying to survive. But eventually I became an expert, and I stopped racing at 17X. And I've told the story before where I was like, should I have turned pro or 17 experts just as fast as B pros or A pros? And there's been a lot of discussion on some of my videos about that. Do you have an opinion? Do you think that you made the right choice going to B pro or A pro? Or it would have been A pro at ABA, right?
Well, they called it B Pro, and it was for a particular race, and I believe it was in Eugene, Oregon, where I did it. It was just, you could do it if you wanted to. You could sign up, and if you're an expert, and I had an ABA card too. Remember those?
Yeah.
It was this paper. So you showed the lady your card, pay your fee. That's basically what I remember, filling out a form, a liability form or something. I don't remember too much after that. I just remember I didn't do very well, and I didn't want to get slaughtered. It was next level, and I can admit to myself even now, I knew then, but I can admit it was like a little out of my league. So
do you
yeah.
Was there one of those cases where they didn't have enough pros for a class and they went to the 17 experts and said, hey, who wants to race pro? Or was there one of those cases or no?
I don't remember being asked in that way. It could have been. I do remember vaguely it wasn't a full gate on some of them, on some of the races, but a lot of that's like hazy. I can remember names of some of the guys I raced with during that time. The Federal Way guys, Damon Johnson, Dave Balance, Dino Mattoni, Kent, Chris Bradley. These are maybe local Seattle guys. I just remember a few of them. But a little bit of that stuff's hazy. I did my best. I think expert is where I did better, but I didn't know enough about the politic, and I was just going to a race, paying my fee, trying to win, But and this goes, we can talk about training later. It goes back to this, like what I was doing, I think prepared me, but I think I could have trained a little differently. You want me to talk on that?
Sure, but let me ask one more question.
Yeah, go ahead. No, please.
Do you remember how much you had to pay at a local race to race pro? Because I never had to do that. What was the pro? Because to race pro, every rider had to chip in for the pot, right?
Yeah, for the
win.
pot. I don't remember the exact fee. We can find it. Probably someone else will know this, but I'll just guess in 80s money, $10-15 maybe.
Okay.
That seems about right. And Eugene was a local track. I think Daryl Young rode there a lot. But $10 to $15, somewhere like that, I think was the entry fee. Yeah.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Did you race anybody big? Who's your biggest competition, man?
I really don't remember their names, and they weren't names like the double A's that I was telling you about that I admired and looked up to. The Pistols and Crazies and Avalanche and all that. It was none of those guys. They were like local guys at my level that were better than me that were on the gate. So now I may have had a moto with Kent. That's possible. He was a good friend, but I don't. I remember the names from the magazines, but I don't remember necessarily some of the guys in my class at that time.
Got it.
I remember seeing him. Yeah.
Did you have any special pre-race rituals, or I know that a lot of guys have the very specific rituals they have before they get on the gate, and I really never had nothing special. I just went behind the starting hill. I did a lot of stretching, a lot of deep knee bends, getting loose. But I was wondering what other guys' pre-race routines were. Did you have one?
No, mine, honestly, it was like yours. I would just try to stay loose, limber, just like grabbing the handlebars of the bike, stretching it away from you, just using the bike to stretch on, honestly. Just like putting my foot behind the seat, doing a thigh stretch, or
Yeah.
grabbing a fence or a tree branch and just stretching on it. Just stuff like that. It wasn't any magic powder or anything like that. I remember my dad gave me a Snicker bar right before my moto at Monroe, but I was like, I don't know if this will help, but maybe he was trying to give me a sugar rush out the gate, you know.
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, he meant well, but I didn't have any real preparatory stuff like that. Just stretch, try to stay loose and focus, you know.
So you want to talk about training? Here's my training.
Yeah,
Riding
please.
my bike around the neighborhood,
Yeah.
or riding my bike to the track. That was my training. What was
Absolutely.
your training, dude?
Okay, I love that. I love this topic because even though I wasn't like a big name or a high level winner type, which is fine. It's more power to all of them. It's not. I was trying though, but I was trying. I had a goal in mind. I did want to win, but if you're really a true diehard, true blue BMXer, wherever you are, wherever you live, you know every street, every alley, every corner, you know every curb in town, and just
every sidewalk with
Yeah.
the root that grew up and made the sidewalk pop up. Everything, dude.
I was thinking about that's awesome. I was thinking about terrain. You know, if you get into surfing, which I am heavily, and you come from BMX or anything with terrain, snowboarding, I notice even driving somewhere in my car, I'll like that looks like a good wave, but it's a hill. You know, I was like, that would be huge. That's 100-foot wave. That, you know, like just driving through California, it's everywhere, as you know. But just like going around a corner, it's like, man, I bet if that'd be a great berm there. You know, sides of freeway off passes, and I've always made did visual surfing. You know, kind of mind surfing they call it.
Yeah.
But my training was absolutely riding from my house about 7 miles away to that track on the other side of Bellevue, and then being there all day, and then riding the bike back home. Back then, no cell phones. You'd have to go to a payphone. You know, everything was. It was just better then, man. You know, and I think all those hours, all those rides, all that, you know, accumulation of experience. It's awesome now, even later in life. Even if it didn't help me right then, it helped me later with building up, nerve, tenacity, balls, ability, flexibility, pliability. So on the training thing, I lived in Bellevue, and people from that side of the east side of Seattle know there's a few hills up there, and there's some really, really steep ones. Me and Kent used to go up Somerset Mountain all the time, and that's where I lived, at the bottom of Somerset, which is Tyee Junior High School. I lived around the back of the other side of that area, but we'd go to the top of that mountain, and then there'd be another mountain called the Summit. It was the Street of Dreams, like luxury homes. It's probably a gated community now, but we would go up these hills that I don't know how we did it, man, but we leaned forward and just pumped up those hills. We'd zigzag, just anything to get up top without getting off that bike.
The switchbacks, back, all that stuff. I'm so grateful that I was so stupid or not stupid, but I just wouldn't stop. You know, that part of me BMX gave me, that being on that bike, that device, that piece of equipment, you know, it gave back, and it still is giving back because it's transferred into water sports, transferred into martial arts, to balance arts, driving a car. I mean, do you know everything a surfer faces in a water simulated a BMX track, at least in my perception? Whoop-de-doos, rough water, berms, that's the curve if the wave is bowling and pitching and turning, doubles, the waves double up sometimes, tabletop, all these aspects. Water accepts everything, not to be too esoteric, but all that bike skill transferred and helped me be a better paddle surfer. So nice, dude.
Yeah,
nice, man.
But my training was essentially like yours. I wasn't really big into weights or gym work or anything. Even today, I like rubber bands, maybe some kettlebells, and but being out on the water, you know, that type of thing. So
Did you practice your starts a lot or no?
I didn't. I wasn't able to at the track. We had the man-made one. If someone was there to do it, to like, we did practice occasionally, but I don't remember practicing a lot. And then at the race, they did a few of those before the race began. They did a few of those test things on the gate. I think I did that a few times. So.
I never once watched the lights, dude. Not once in my career. Riders ready, watch the lights. I never watched the lights. I was trying to time the gate, and I was looking at my front wheel. Never watched the lights one time. People think, really? I go, yeah, I never watched the lights.
I can believe that. It looks like on some of these motos, the guys are looking down anyway, and they're waiting for the electronics and the mechanics. I mean, today's gate's got to be a totally different animal.
Yeah.
Than back when we had them. I mean, but still, it was a big hunk of steel, and you could feel a little. I could feel the other tires bouncing on it from the other guys and stuff, and the anticipation. I remember that stuff.
Nice, dude.
But I wasn't really good out of the gate. I was working on it, but that was something I had to work on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I never. Yeah. That if anything starts from my downfall as well. But what was the dude? I want to talk to you about a little bit about BMX culture up there in Seattle.
Yeah.
Versus Southern California. I've told the story before, but summer days, summer vacation, mom kicks you out of the house at 8 a.m. You get on the bike with your buddies.
Yeah.
I'm in OP shorts, no underwear, cut off lightning bolt shirt, Vans high tops with socks up to my knees. We're out riding all day long. We go to Thrifty's to get an ice cream cone, bunny hop and jump in that we could get our hands on. Listen to what were you listening at the time? Like Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast, everything from that to the Smiths, all kinds of stuff, dude. What was
cool?
What kind of memories do you have of the Seattle bike scene growing up? What kind of stuff were you guys getting into?
Okay, well, so there were occasions I would ride around with a group of guys, but often it was just myself. So, man, it would be me exploring the terrain. There'd be times where, like, me and friends at the track, we'd go get some food and come back to the track or something, go to 7-Eleven or something. But oftentimes I was just like working it out, doing sprints and stuff like that. But the thing is, so if you're walking as a pedestrian, you see a lot if you're aware. If you're in a car driving by, you can almost be totally unaware and see nothing. But on a bike, you're kind of in the middle. You're on a vehicle, but you can you see a lot of stuff. So what I'm getting at is I've had a lot of funny experiences being on a BMX bike. I've been hit by a car. I've jumped over cars. I remember once me and Kent were outside a Bellevue 7-Eleven, and a King County sheriff, that's the sheriff, he pulled up to the 7-Eleven, and we're just sitting outside. We're eating like fruit pies or something, just being kids eating junk food on our BMX bikes. And the sheriff pulls up to the front of the 7-Eleven, gets out, runs in, and there's a big magazine rack. And he takes a magazine out of the top back, pulls the plastic sleeve off it, the clear sleeve on, and I'm like, what's going on, man? This dude just, and he looked like Magnum PI. He had the mustache. He didn't have his vest on. His shirt was unbuttoned. He was like yoked. His sleeves were like tight. He was like super cop. And so we're like, what's going on? So we walk up. He's looking at this month's Playboy, the centerfold. He's just standing there admiring it. That's the 80s, dude. I saw that stuff all the time. Dude, that's the 80s, bro.
I thought you were going to say it was a hustler or something, man. But yeah.
No. And there was a line of people, like moms were in there and stuff, and it was funny, man. I just had weird encounters like that all the time. Like, oh, what? I just saw that. It was funny. In another brush with fame, I'll give you a quick one. I went to Newport High School. I graduated in '85, and in the Seattle school district at that time, they had substitute teachers coming through to teach languages, and I had Spanish, one of my electives, and an old black man named Al was our teacher, and I found out his last name was Hendricks, Al Hendricks. It was Jimi Hendrix's dad. He taught us Spanish in the Seattle school district, and we were told not to ask him about his son because only a few years prior, Jimi Hendrix died. So, and that, of course, yeah, I was interested in music back then, but 20 years later, I found a guitar. So that's just how that went. But I've always liked his son's music, and
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty interesting. Yeah, he didn't talk much. He was very quiet, but he was a good Spanish teacher, though. So
I interviewed a guy from Burbank, Phil Latham, who went to school with Randy Rhoads.
oh wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. Can you imagine that?
Well, really, but it was. I think he was like junior high or something. He wasn't even a guitar solo virtuoso back then. I think he was in like junior high school, whatever, when he hung out with Randy Rhoads.
As a sidebar, Randy Rhoads, man, he was like Yngwie Malmsteen and the classically trained guys. He was maestro level, extraordinary. But a lot of people don't know this. When he was with Ozzy Osbourne, after those Ozzy concerts, Randy Rhoads oftentimes would go home. A fan would invite him home for a guitar lesson, and he'd learn from the student, his fan, and they teach each other classical guitar motifs and scales. And I mean, he was perpetually learning. And I mean, it was sad he got in that plane and died. But
yeah, dude,
one of the greats, man.
Yeah. Let's go back.
Yeah,
so you're still racing. You tried pro once in a while. You did. You had you didn't have any big name guys in your motos, and ironically, that's the same with me. I don't remember racing anybody huge, even at triple pointers or at the one national that I went to was a beginner, but I don't remember racing anybody really huge.
Yeah,
but I raced a couple big triple pointers, World Stars, that type of thing. Do you remember your last race?
I don't. The races aren't not really. It doesn't really stick out because most of my career, I was in third or fourth or fifth place. It just didn't. It just seemed like it was for a long time. It was endless frustration. Like I really was trying, but I didn't have. This goes back to the training, unfortunately, or fortunately. I probably should have done more sprinting training. But I was telling you earlier, I was climbing hills and doing like bomb runs down these neighborhood hills. But I probably should have focused more on that quick twitch stuff. You know, the sprinty stuff. And I did do a little of that, but I think that was probably my downfall or something I could have did better during those times.
Ironically, you say that because that's exactly how I would classify Ronnie Anderson style.
Oh, sprint!
Quick, boom, 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 boom. Quick little moves.
It was hyper efficiency. Him, Bart McDaniel, all the greats had it. Pete Lonkarovich. I still watch videos of them from those times, and it's like when Pistol was out front, he kept the lead. Like very rarely was he passed. It was amazing. Just like they had drive, or they were so intimidating to their opponents. I don't know. I saw a lot of that stuff. Just like the pros trying to psych each other out. It was pretty interesting. I once saw at Sumner. I saw Ronnie Anderson psych out Stu Thompson. He just looked at him, and I was like in the bleachers, and they were on the gate, so I was like 30 feet away, just watching this. And Ronnie looked at Stu, and he goes, and then he like smirked and walked off. He was like, "Damn, dude, just mess with the man, dude." But that was like next level stuff. Those guys were in their own world, you know. I was like,
dude,
whoa. Yeah.
Mike Miranda on the Dirty Dots podcast told a story of when he was at a national or something, and he was before the gate. Everybody was lined up on the gate, and he walked by and goes, "Good luck, good luck, good luck." And I think it was Greg Hill. He goes, "Don't hit the gate. Good luck, good luck, good luck." And then I think whoever he said, "Don't hit the gate," hit the gate. I thought that was a cool story for psyching people out, and I was like, "Oh, that'd be fun." That totally sounds like something Mike Miranda would do on a gate before a race. That's kind of funny.
This was great because there was I didn't see a lot of hate between competitors, even at the elite levels there, like we're talking of. It was kind of like in fun, like they were kind of ribbing. It wasn't like hardcore, like I'm trying to kill that guy. Maybe they were thinking it, but I never really saw it.
Yeah.
It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger back when he was the bodybuilder. He had that movie Pumping Iron, and they showed him psyching out all his guys too. And it was basically just making them laugh so they lost their composure, you know, just whatever trick they could play. And clearly it was at the high level of BMX that stuff was going on. It was fun to watch, though. So.
Yeah, dude. I think Schwarzenegger showed up the night before with with a large pizza and started eating the pizza in front of everybody.
Oh, that's funny. They had all the tricks, man. I mean, I wish I knew some more of the inside stuff. I'm sure BMX had it, at those levels. But like for me, it was getting the best parts I could, doing the best I could. And
was there an underground parts market in your area? In our area, dude, in our area, it was like crazy. Like there were the trading and horse trading that was going on with my friends and selling this and buying this, and the same thing up there.
Oh, like just dealing in parts and trying to make your bike lighter. I remember those anodized fluted seat posts.
Yeah,
just anything to make that bike lighter. I wasn't a real fan of the uni seat, but those things shaved weight. I was more of what I wanted. I tried to get it as light as I could. Redline, Proline, all chromed out. No V bar. It was the Redline bar actually. That was I ran GT bars or Hutch bars, just the standard. Single rear brake, Odyssey. I think I had for a while. Talking about bike parts, you remember Mathhauser brake pads?
Yeah,
remember those? Those
were
the original ones
were
fluted on the side. Yeah, they were like tan or Adobe looking. That was a good brake pad. I remember those real early when Sun Tour had all their stuff out, the anodized chrome or aluminum, I should say. What I wanted was the front end to not be squirrely because, again, I was. And I remember the Hutch came out with the 2-in-1 headlock. Remember that one with the Allen bolts? That was a good invention, man, for a taller guy. And then I remember, I think Gary Ellis or some of the guys were using an ESP neck. It was a long chrome neck. It was really good. That with the Hutch 2-in-1 on a Pro line with the bars just straight, not geeking forward, just right in this range is where I liked it. So that helped me. That was my knowledge of all this stuff at that point was what I was getting from BMX Action, trying to ask Kent and looking at Bart and Rob's bikes and, just looking at the pros bikes, looking at studying those pictures like a hawk. Those pros, I mean, they don't realize the effect they had on people. A lot of people looked up to them and idolized them. I was just one of those kids. That's all I was. So,
were you a sealed bearing guy or did you run ball bearings, dude?
Let's see. I recall at one point having a set of Philwood hubs, but they were on crappy rims, and I remember they were just collecting dust in the garage floor. I don't think I converted them back because Bike Factory just started selling sets with Sun Tour. The lace spoke thing. I wasn't really into tough wheels. I thought graphites were cool. I was wondering I was going to ask you about graphite, like Avalanche or Andy Patterson. I think they were tough wheel guys. Were those were they light, the anodized ones?
I think they were lighter.
Graphite.
I don't know if they were light. I think the graphites were more stiff than the normal tough wheels. I think that was the key. And then the obviously the Campanola hub on the graphites.
Yeah, Campies. Yeah, I remember those Campies. I was just basically a Sun Tour in the middle. I was running 42 to 45 in the front and like 16 or 17 in the rear, something like that, with 185 millimeter flight cranks.
185s. Wow.
I had 185s were custom. Yeah. I was trying to copy Kent Lowry because he had like 205s or 210 Ashtabulas. I was like, I never seen that before, man. That looked like a cartoon character. And he made it work, more power to him. So I remember you were talking about pedals. I did get a used set of Hutch pedals off a friend. I remember they were all dull. I had to shave them with a file, I had some bear claws. I have a lot of scars on my right shin from that. Getting bit by a Hutch pedal or a bear claw is not fun, especially in shorts, man.
Did they grip? I never rode them, but I mean, they seemed like they were so sharp they might not even grip at all. Were they adequate?
Are you talking the Hutch?
Yeah. They
gripped. I mean, I was wearing Vans. I had slip-ons most of the time. I probably should have had lace-ups, but I didn't really slip. I did have an accident when I was lake jumping at Lake. No, it was by Woodland Park Zoo, Green Lake. It's called Green Lake. And some kids had a ramp down to this dock. And I had one of my earlier red lines. And I'm like, I want to try that. And I did. Do you remember that trick called a can, or it was also called a Henderson, where you go one hand, 1 foot off, and then you put it back on? Well, I did that on the right side where the sprocket was. And when my foot came down, it slipped off the pedal. My shin hit the sprocket and dented it with my shin bone, and it peeled back my front of my shin to the tune of 180, about 180 stitches of, and I came out of the water, and the front of my shin was flapping like a tongue. I'm like,
oh man.
Right. So yeah, off to Harborview I went.
When you're lake jumping, are you tying that bike to your arm? How do you?
No, we didn't do well. A couple of times in Kirkland. Let me tell you something about. Let me. This is interesting. I have done it with a life jacket on the handlebars, taking all the pads off, all the number plate and stuff, and I've done it that way. I've done it with nothing, but I never had a lanyard from my body to the bike. But when I crashed at Green Lake, it just scared me. I did a lot of jumping before that. As a matter of fact, me and Kent, I mean, you could say this is crazy what we did. We'd sneak into condos in Kirkland, Washington, and a lot of them were on stilts on the water, like a Malibu house. We'd sneak up to the roof through a fire escape with our BMX bikes, and on the top of the roof was gravel. No one would be up there like a maintenance man for HVAC or something, but we would ride our bikes off that roof, drop like 3 floors of condo into the water. We did that several times, and
dude, that's sick, dude.
Dead,
that is sick.
It's stupid. I mean, I should have been. I mean, can you imagine some lady having breakfast, and like looking at her window?
Whoa!
We were stupid like that, dude. But it was fun.
The only thing that we did, we used to on summer days, we used to break into apartment complexes and ride our bikes into the pool.
And then empty?
Just pull out.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I never got into pool too much. That was more of the skaters' realm, of my understanding, at least where I grew up. I don't know if you remember in high school, but you had like, it's the same old thing. You had the snowboarder versus the downhill ski, the BMX versus the skateboard, the jiu-jitsu versus the judo. There's always something, this guy's versus that guy's, and there was that going on. So, but I thought Eddie Fiol, as a matter of fact, I saw the trick team with, I think it was, who was the Spanish kid that I'm thinking he was in Eddie Fiola's group, and I'm trying to remember his name. I'm sorry, but some of these trick teams would come to local malls with a pickup truck dragging a half pipe, and they'd open it up and they'd just do tricks in the parking lot. It was really cool. So,
dude,
I wish I could remember the kid's name, but
Mike Dominguez.
Maybe it was Mike Dominguez, possibly. It was someone from California, And by the way, back to California, that I live here now is like the only reason I was ever interested in California was seeing the vibe from those BMX magazines, and then it just like those guys look cool, dude. I want, I don't know. There was just something about down here that has always drawn me. I grew up in the Northwest. I think it was the cold weather. Just wanting to be somewhere warm where there's bike tracks everywhere, trails everywhere, all the surf you can have. So,
dude, you mentioned ramps, dude. Huh? I think in like 81 or 82, BMX Action published building plans to build a ramp, a quarter pipe, in the magazine. And my friend called me up one day and goes, "Hey, dude, let's build this ramp. My dad bought us all the wood. Well, cool. Let's go build this ramp." So we built the ramp. We took it over to my friend's house, and his dad got sick of us over there riding. So he goes, to get this damn ramp out of my yard. I don't want it here anymore. So we took it to my house, and I lived in my driveway was right on the sidewalk. So I had this quarter pipe in my driveway where when we would leave and go like on a family outing, and we'd come back, and there'd be like 10 or 15 kids in my driveway. Yeah. Riding the ramp, trying to do aerials in my driveway. My dad would get freaked out. "Get out of here! What are you doing? I'm not even home, and you're riding this ramp." So we tried to ramp ride, but we weren't that good. We'd always argue about, "Oh, dude, my back tire went over the top, dude. I got off the top," but we never went off the top, dude. We were pretty much strictly racing.
That's cool. My take on some of this is the translation of the material. Like doing a drop-in is kind of scary, especially the first time. And if it's a lot of vert, I mean, that takes balls, man. And every time I catch a wave, you're doing a drop-in basically. And
yeah,
I mean, it's a little more forgiving than asphalt, but if you fall wrong, you better have your stuff in a line and be looking ahead a few steps, or you're not going to be in a good spot. And you always want to be looking ahead. So,
looking back now, would you have stuck with that red line, or would you have gotten something else?
Oh man, I've thought about this because after all over the internet with your channel and a couple of those ones that showed like the vintage bike shows, I've got some dream bikes, dude. Like a black hutch, a hutch with black and chrome with some blue anodized mix in. That's a beautiful picture, man. And then the Timmy Judge model, I thought that was cool in red. Favorite bikes, that one I told Crazy Ronnie's, whatever that, I call it a sleeper. I'm sure he knows what it is. But I mean, if you're a pro, I mean, bikes go through your hands like Keith Richards goes through his guitars. You know, they probably ride different stuff all the time, dude. But dream bike would be like an Elf or a Boss or a Holmes. Those were S&M, right? Holmes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the long frame. I mean, that's what drew me to the pro line. But
dude, man,
yeah.
do you know who the Holmes is named after?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know the story.
Dude, but I didn't know.
Waugh, dude. Yeah.
I didn't know, dude.
You do now, dude.
Dude, I interviewed
That's
John
crazy.
Salami, and we're talking about S&M, and I go, dude, who's the Holmes named after? And he looked at me like he goes, you don't know? No, dude. Anyways, I know now.
Hey, can I tell you a story about how I became a metalhead, Kevin?
Sure.
Okay, so one of my first jobs was over by that Crossroads track in Bellevue. It was a Domino's Pizza delivery. And I had this piece of crap, my first car, a Datsun B210 hatchback. So that was my car going around Bellevue slinging pizza. And so I come back to the store. Well, actually, let me say this first. When we got our tips, every tip I ever made delivering pizza, next door to the pizza place in that little strip mall, there was a liquor store. We just go in there and buy junk food with we'd have $5-10, come back. I'd eat my money with junk food. I was so stupid, man. I didn't save no. I mean, then bike parts, of course. But anyway, after a delivery one afternoon, I come back to reload pizzas for my deliveries. And there's a bunch of Bellevue police cars out in the front of the shop. I walk up and there's a radio blasting above the Coke machine. And my manager, who's got long ass hair, is getting slammed by Bellevue police up on the Coke machine. The glass to the door's cracked because his head's pushed in it. His face is all squished up there. There's blood and teeth flying. There's 4 cops holding him and he's fighting like the devil. And on the top of the Coke machine, there's a boom box, and it was I think it was 1982 or 82 or 83, maybe 84. It was when Ride the Lightning came out from Metallica, but from Who the Bell Tolls was playing at full blast while my manager was getting arrested. And I found I was dealing weed out of the store. Big, duh, figure that out. But the mayhem of seeing that shit, I turned into a metalhead right there, and it was in the For Whom the Bell Tolls, when it was the triplets where it was that right when I walked in. I was like, damn, what a scene, dude. Yeah.
Dude, I straddled the line, dude. I was the Smiths and the Cure,
yeah.
Megadeth and Slayer, and Iron Maiden, mostly Iron Maiden.
Yeah, I saw the Cure live, dude. I remember going to concerts in Seattle. I saw the Cure. I saw JG Garanzik outside with some chicks waiting to go into the Cure. I think he's a musician now. He's like a metal singer or something, I believe. But he was a GT or a Hutch guy, I believe. There's an interview of him somewhere. But everyone was smoking cloves. It was cool to smoke cloves if you were into like the dark makeup mode of rock. I think it was, I don't know if it was glam or what was that? If you were into the Morrissey, what was that?
New Wave.
New Waver. Yeah, he was a new wave. He had the step haircut, remember, with the steps in the back. Yeah.
Or did you ever peg your Levi's? and fold them in and roll them up on the bottom?
So I didn't get dirt. Well, I remember bell bottoms were a mistake. Levi's 501 were your friend, but if you had regular cut, I did a rubber band. So I didn't like geeking them into a sock because then I'd get chain oil or chain grease on my sock all the time because socks are white. Well, I had white tube socks, but
No, just
yeah, I
like
remember
going
that.
to school. When you go to school or you're getting dressed to go out, you take the hem of your Levi's and you fold it and you roll it up, so you have like a little band around the bottom of your.
I never
you guys didn't do that.
I never did that. I don't think they did that in my school. I don't remember it. Everyone was like the cool dudes were in Britannia bell bottoms, like with a Van Halen shirt and whatever it is. You know, I was like an invisible in the middle of school guy. I did JV wrestling, and I wasn't really into. Our school was like a jock school. It was all about baseball, football, wrestling, and it was sport minded. But like most high schools, you had your little groups. I was in the BMX group, which wasn't very many people, mind you. And another thing, when I went to a 20-year reunion for class of 85, Newport High, Bellevue, and only two of us were they honored for going in the military out of the whole class, me and some chick in the Army. I'm a Gulf War vet. And I'm not saying that to pat my back. I'm just saying it was just odd. Like, I thought more of you come over, but nope, it was all about chasing that dollar,
So you went in the Army in 86 or 87?
No, I went in, I lingered a little bit in Seattle doing part-time jobs. I went in 94, 95, 96.
Okay.
I'm
All
Gulf War vet. Yep. Yeah. Fort Benning.
Not the shock and awe Gulf. The second Gulf.
You were, I was on Operation Vigilant Warrior. It was just
okay. All right.
Deployment exercises when Saddam was moving his troops around, just being a dick. So
I was in for 80. I got out in 90, and that's probably when the first Gulf War broke out. They wanted me to extend, and I told them no, I'm getting out. And I pushed out, let my buddies go to the Gulf without me. That's my biggest regret.
Well, yeah, I get that. I was about to say don't have any regrets, but I get it, brother. My DD-214 on my extended, if I was to continue, the last date, if you were going to be recalled, mine was, check this out, 10/11/2001, a month after 9/11.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I could have got yanked anytime. I was working in Atlanta. I was doing some public safety, security stuff, but I could have got yanked during that month, and it was kind of weird. I didn't. I was expecting something, but it didn't happen. So
I got out, and I did get recalled. I got recalled in early 2000. Early 2000.
What's your MOS? What'd you do?
I was a 0311.
What's that? I don't know.
Grunt. Grunt.
What are you?
Grunt.
Grunt. Yeah, roger that. Yeah, I was Sergeant Major's driver. I was S1. I was command staff. I drove Sergeant Major and the generals around. It was pretty funny. So I don't even want to get into that. That's another talk. So, but it was fun, dude.
One more question. One more.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the YouTube channel Urban Valor?
I haven't. No, I haven't.
Okay, they interviewed me about my military service on that. Shout out to Urban Valor. If you want to check out my interview, go on Urban Valor TV on YouTube and search for Left Behind. I tell the story about my platoon left a guy out at 29 Palms where he died. It's a big infamous story in the Marine Corps. But anyway,
hey Kevin, you were talking to a guy you were interviewing a while ago. I heard Terminal Lance. Remember that comic book?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember they sold that in the Barnes and Nobles from a guy at Pendleton. I think did that, right?
Yeah.
That was selling like hotcakes. That was a hell of a cartoon book, man. That's no joke. Can I back to BMX real quick and appreciate your service, my brother. I just wanted to at least sum up what BMX gave me for maybe someone getting into it or what it was like being an 80s guy. Can I tell you?
Go for it, dude.
Okay, and then ask me wherever you want. But basically, BMX gave me a lot of things, and we've talked about them this last a bit here. But a big one was overcoming fear. It was just a 20-inch bike with one gear in the front, one in the back. But it was it opened a lot of doors for me. It led me to where I live now in Southern California. It was a form of escape. It was a form of expression. It led to surfing. It gave me stick with itness, just getting out and exercising on that bike. And that's what I'd say to today's kid is I know there's so many distractions, social media, there's so many ways to get out of but it's actually fun. What you'd think would be hard work, if you just get out there and ride around flats and then maybe work some hills and get some trails. And but that's what I was doing. At least it just gave me a don't quit drive, inner drive. And just the fact that you're moving your legs, you're going to get some wind and build up your cardio, that type of thing. It also taught me something else that I learned in the Army. We had PMCS, preventive maintenance, service, and care. Like when you're cleaning equipment, as we've all done, endless, cleaning weapons, cleaning tank, Humvee, whatever. But that when I went in the Army, I had that already drilled in me from cleaning my bike. After every race, I'd wipe down every spoke. I'd get with a toothbrush in between, get all the grit out of that chain, take the chain off, soak it, just do everything. Oh, and I forgot to answer your sealed bearing. The flight cranks on my lower bottom bracket, I think, were sealed. And I did have Phil Woods, but I don't remember much sealed after that. I don't remember if Sun Tour had them or not. But I do remember before flight cranks, when I had the single cheapy Ashtabula, I remember taking those things out and re-greasing them. I remember having to do it with balls, or when they had the claw that held like 7 or 8 of them or 12 of them, whatever it was, headstock and lower bottom bracket. I remember cleaning those, and that was kind of a pain in the butt, but that was the old days,
Dude, is there one part that you always had on your bike that translated? Well, for me, Shimano DX pedals, Cashmax Zero seat, Pro Neck stem. All the other things could kind of interchange, but those were the focus. Those were the core of my bike. Did you have anything like that?
Definitely. Yeah, I covered it earlier, but I never thought of it the way you just put it. I that 2-in-1 hutch headlock and with an ESP long neck that took away all that geek wiggle in the front. I really appreciated those devices. Redline flights with hutch pedals, or just a wide bear trap, whatever I had. If I didn't have a hutch pedal, it'd be like just the big square ones. I forgot who made those, Sun Tour, and I don't remember. But those were crucial. Just having a good grip, which, by the way, applies to surfing or any sport. It's all about contact, and it's about having a good grip of something. If you're paddle surfing, the wax on a surfboard, for God's sakes, is connection. You wax your feet. It's all about having a good grip, but being flexible and pliable with it. So I took a lot of that from there too. So
I've never asked this question before, dude. What's the most overrated BMX part in your opinion ever?
Overrated? Like most hyped part?
That wasn't worth the hype.
Well, I thought the uni seat was good for like little kids or powder puff class maybe, but I would be scared to snap that thing if I leaned back wrong. I'm not knocking the product either, but overhyped, that kind of is in that area, but not really.
Let me give you a couple of mine, and I might give you a spark.
Yes,
Redline V bars, graphite tough wheels, sealed bearings. Sealed bearings are so overrated in my book. Snake belly tires, a line of lightning bolt seat. What else? There's all kinds of parts that I can't stand that everybody loves. I was like, these were so overrated, man.
I get what you're saying. I didn't like. I don't know if we disagree on this, but Oakley had some interesting grips where you could pull a sleeve off and it was really bumpy. It was like
B1Bs.
What are those?
B1Bs, the best grip ever made.
Okay, well then we respectfully disagree. I like the AME. I just like those. And by the way, speaking of, it made me think of Crazy Ronnie again. I saw him on the gate at Sumner with a bottle of hairspray and his brother brought him up these light blue AME grips. And right before his moto started, he was spraying hairspray in there and putting them on his bars. I thought he was trying to psych someone out. Maybe it was a trick or something, but I was like, dude, your grips aren't even on yet, dude. It was like, what's he doing?
Oh, so he was
playing games. He had to be playing with their heads.
He was installing new grips on his bars on the gate.
On
With
the gate,
hairspray.
yeah. His brother brought him up to him. His brother was massaging his calves. It was hilarious, dude. It was just like, dude, okay. But yeah, it was like I said, I just had these brushes with fame. I don't know. That was them. There, more power to all those guys. It was such a great time, dude. 80s were awesome. Right now, the bike I ride today, it's a folding Tern, Tern. It's a German, like one of those Japanese bikes, you know, that you can compact it, throw it in the back. I got one of those, and I have it set up like a 24-inch GHP cruiser. That was my last cruiser, by the way. I wasn't a big cruiser dude, but I liked riding them around. I got into the 24s a little bit.
Are you talking about the reissued GHP Cruiser or the original GHP?
The original GHP, because we're talking like 90, 91, right when I was in college. I rode one of those around campus. So,
okay. So that's a second gen.
I wasn't familiar with what generation, but I trust you. You got better knowledge on some of this.
Yeah, first gen GHP is 83, 84, 85,
Okay.
86, something like that.
Now this would have been after that. It was 90, 91-ish. Yeah, but
so yeah, so did you ever try to come back? Come on now.
No. I never really had the urge. I liked just riding the bike around and just jumping, like doing street jumps or not street jumps, dirt jumps. Sometimes from the street to dirt. I like making the bike move. I was always trying to do a Timmy Judge tabletop. I couldn't quite get it flat like that. I was like kind of in here. But I was just trying to copy pictures. I was just a real impressionable kid. And I wanted to like move and look like those guys. I was lucky enough to see them in live, you know, watch them race and stuff. So I was just taking everything I could, putting it in my melon and just doing the best I could.
You mentioned Toby Henderson doing a Henderson.
Yeah,
he was one of my favorite riders because of the Henderson.
I thought it was called the can.
Toby Henderson, and then Trash Can Morgan. Do you remember Trash Can Morgan?
Vaguely.
He rode for Kuwahara.
I don't know him.
Yeah. Trash Can Morgan, who did the Morgan. It was like an upside down, look back, that kind of thing. It was crazy. So, yeah, dude, that's why I always liked Toby Henderson. Not necessarily because of his racing, but because of his jumping. Anyways, dude,
there was something about the Hutch uniform or their bike. It was just so cool, man. I don't know what it was, but just like that in the homes, like those long XL frames, like Ronnie Elf or the Bosses. I mean, those. I liked it, and I think I was told, or I learned even recently that the long XL frames were better for speed jumping, like for a bigger guy, maybe. And I talked to the guy at Omega Bike Shop, and he was saying about these modern BMX guys, and more power to him. He said that often, like a really good rider can beat you with barely pedaling on a track. It's about tucking and blending their body. And they were doing a slow-mo video on another bike channel. I was watching that. They were breaking down how super effective these guys are. So it was really cool watching like the progression over time of BMX, you know.
Dude, you mentioned what BMX gave to you.
Yeah.
You know, what BMX gave to me, and this dovetails into my last two videos that I've released, where BMX saved actually, I don't know if it saved my childhood or messed up my childhood, but dude, I didn't think of drugs. I didn't think about pot. I didn't think about drinking. All I thought about was riding my bike, bro. And in the grand scheme of things, that kept me out of trouble. And that's what BMX did for me. Now, I didn't go to school, so it was a double-edged sword, but I never got arrested. I didn't become a drug addict. I always stayed out of trouble to race, but I didn't go to school. So yeah, dude, was and then I released that video about smoking pot before races, and it blew up, dude. I was like, wow, dude, I can't believe it. Did you ever smoke pot or see this happen at the track or anything like that?
I'd like to assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
Not you, anybody else.
Yeah, someone that looked like me did it once, dude.
Okay, all right,
man. Listen, I was a bit of a hooligan as a kid. We got in trouble. Okay, back to drinking. I never took to drink, and I've really, that's not been my thing. And I actually found out one night on a BMX bike, because me and my friend, at the time, one of my high school buddies were riding around the neighborhood, and we stole from either my dad or his dad's basement the wine in the box. Remember the wine in the box? And it was probably like Zinfandel or some white wine. It was brutal.
Gallo, dude.
We finished. When I made it down to this neighborhood, I felt like upchuck about to happen. I pulled into a house, whose ever house, and I puked on the garage door. I was just leaning up on it, going, just letting it out. And God knows if someone came outside, I would have been dead beat, dude. But it was like, I was like, it wasn't for me. But right after I puked, I got back on that bike, and I knew that I just had this instinctive feeling that I had to burn it off. So I rode for several hours, and I think it helped. I mean, I wasn't totally sober after that time, but I was better than right then when that happened. So I just kept going. So that was me, to my credit. Psychological strength, I guess that's what I took from that. So, and don't be stupid.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine being on anything trying to race, dude. I mean, I could really concentrate as I was.
Yeah.
Alone, being stoned or something like that. But
well, yeah, in that sport, I didn't see a lot of that at tracks. It may have happened. I wasn't around a lot of that. I mean, high school was, oh my God, dude. Like in art class, everyone was making silk screen T-shirts of their favorite bands and stuff. And there was definitely some heavy stoner quality at my high school. This one dude in art class he did a silk screen shirt with his name on it, and his name was Todd. And then he had a big green pot leaf, and underneath it said quarter ounce. Like, I was like, Todd's mom must have been proud of Todd, dude. So it was like, that was high school, dude. It was fast times, you know.
Dude, my high school was like, we showed up an hour early to school when I went to school, and we'd all just sit on our bikes, look at each other, brag about our bikes, you know, parts, trying to trade parts, you know, how we did the races the night before, bragging about who beat who, and that was cool. That was all we did, man.
That's awesome.
Just riding.
I'm glad for the friends I had back in those days. I mean, it's sort of shaped the person I was, how I acted as a kid. You know, like even to right now, I still don't want to grow up. I'm 57, dude, and we're talking like, I mean, I still go surfing every morning. I'll make it happen. You know, I'll find a way just to get outside. Like I never lost that 80s. Our mom's kicking us out. You know, it made us better, man. It did. I mean, we weren't. I mean, luckily, I'm speaking for myself. I was a mischief maker, but I wasn't a real troublemaker, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, me too. Exactly.
I lost fights. I won fights. I was in the middle, basically, of that stuff. But
I always knew exactly when to stop before I got in any real trouble.
That's good. You were smart, dude. You knew where the perimeters were. I've done some stupid stuff.
I want to share a story with you because one day my friend, my brother, and I ditched school, and we were sitting in my friend's house. His mom was at work, and we looked out the window, and there was a Molson truck that was delivering beer to a bar that was behind my friend's apartment, and the guy didn't pull the door all the way down, right? So we ran out of the guy's house, my friend's house, and we each took a case of Molson Golden, right? And then he saw something was going on. We ran into the apartment building. So the driver chased us through, and the driver was pounding on all these doors, trying to figure out what apartment we were in. And we were hiding underneath the counter and the couch and stuff. Oh my gosh, he's gonna find us. And then so like the next week or so, we were the most popular kids in school. We had 3 cases of Molson Golden for the parties, dude. That was cool.
Dude, I remember stuff like that. I didn't do a lot of stealing. I did a little. I shouldn't have, but I did. But I remember sitting in a McDonald's once, which was across from a market, and I saw a kid running across the parking lot with a red briefcase, and he was booking, dude. I don't know what it was. Then I saw a security guy go after him, or some manager. It was a Safeway, and I realized it wasn't a red suitcase. It was Tecate. You know, he got a 24-pack, dude. Yeah. So
being popular,
like that,
man.
Huh?
Yeah, he became popular that day.
It's hilarious, dude. Just seeing stuff, and a lot of it was just around being on a bike. You know, me and my friend. Probably the dumbest thing I did was, oh God, this was probably '84. Me and my friend Dave, we climbed on the roof of in Seattle. They have QFCs. It'd be like an Albertsons up here. It was like a Safeway competitor, QFC. They had this big inflatable chicken. It was like 40 feet tall on the roof of this KFC. And we both had those little Rambo knives. You know, I remember Rambo came out, so we wanted to, you know, had those little. It was a mini Rambo knife, basically, with a sheath and with a compass on the back of it. You know what I'm talking about with the
you screw the end off and you can put matches inside the knife.
There was matches, there was fishing line, needle, all that. Yeah, you know the deal, dude.
Yeah,
but so we get up top of this QFC and we pop the chicken with his Rambo knife, and it crashes on top of us. So we have to cut our way out of the inside of the chicken, the fabric or whatever. And then we hear noises, and someone's definitely calling the cops. And I get down a drain pipe because we ran all the way across the roof of the strip mall. I shimmy down a drain pipe and I go, Dave, jump. And at this angle, it's about 20 feet. And he's scared. And I'm like, dude, I'll catch you. Just jump. And I didn't catch him.
I promise I'll catch you.
Sprained his ankle or snapped it. We drugged ourselves up into the woods. And thank God the canine or the cops didn't find us, because they were driving around looking with spotlights. And we ended up getting him after it cooled down, which is about an hour of him biting a stick so he's not screaming because he snapped his ankle. We get him to the hospital. I drive him in my crap car, and we told the doctor we were practicing karate and he fell.
All right, I'm going to tell you one story, man. One more.
All right, dude. I got tons more, but go ahead.
So my buddy, my friend, my brother and I were walking down. We're riding our bikes down this alley in South Pasadena. And in this alley, there's a medical supply center called Abbey Medical.
Okay.
And we're riding our bikes by. We see by the trash can, there's a big dumpster, and there's a bunch of wheelchairs just sitting around by this outside, right by this Dipsy dumpster.
Oh,
and
dude.
we thought they were throwing these wheelchairs away, right? So we each grab a wheelchair and tow it home on our bikes. So for the next couple days, we're all about wheelchairs. So now we're practicing wheelchairs, wheeling the wheelchair, going off curbs, going downstairs, doing tricks, doing like jousting matches in wheelchairs and a wheelie.
That's
all
hilarious.
kinds of stuff. So we became very adept at monitoring, operating these wheelchairs.
Yeah.
So one day we go down the street to Safeway, and we're kind of wheeling ourselves through the aisles trying to mess around. And one of the customers thought that we were really disabled. So she goes, come over here. So we learned that people would let us go to the front of the line if we had our wheelchairs. So one time we were outside, we were eating, I think we swiped some banaka and some beef jerky from Safeway, and we're outside eating the beef jerky and doing the banaka.
Yeah.
And some guy thought that we were really disabled, and he threw my brother a 5-spot because he thought we were. So we go, hey, how can we get? So we went home and put our Boy Scout uniforms on and came back to the Safeway, and we sat out there for the Safeway with a cup, dude, for like 2 hours. And we made all this money. The cops arrested us.
That is brutal, dude. Hey, have you ever been to an intersection and they have the funeral? Like they have a picture of someone who died? Have you ever seen that? Like if you're in traffic and you stop at an intersection and there's like 3 or 4 panhandlers and it's for a funeral that someone died.
Yeah.
That's bullshit, dude.
Yes.
That's fake. If you want them to get pissed, you go, hey, where's the funeral home? Let me help out. I'll pay for the whole thing. You say that to them, they're all gypsies, dude. It's a scam. That there's no dead person. They made that up, dude. That's to get sympathy. It's all BS, dude.
Yeah, some dude does those videos on Instagram.
Dude, it's good to watch what the latest scams are, because there's a lot of people trying a lot of stuff in these times. You gotta be careful.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
What am I missing, bro? What am I missing? What do you want to talk about?
Dude, no, I'm just grateful you took the time and let me come on your platform. This is awesome. I want to go to that dirt thing you were talking about, or the guy at Omega was telling me there's a
Dirty Fest?
Dirty Fest. Yeah, talk about that. That sounds cool,
dude. Man, you'll be in heaven. Like, okay, imagine this, dude. Imagine you're walking through the pits, and you see, hey, that's so and so. Hey, I saw that guy. Wait a second. Oh my gosh, look who's over there.
Yeah.
Hey, dude. Everybody is at Dirty Fest.
Okay.
and it's only like 10 minutes from your house, dude.
Let me know next time we'll go. We'll talk offline on that one. Oh yeah, I forgot. So for motivation for military, are you familiar with the OODA loop? Observe,
No.
orient, decide. Yeah, this is something I wanted to give some of the newer people, like either new to BMX or people in the newer generation. But in the military, at least in the Army, we were taught OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, act. OODA: observe, orient, decide, act. And it's basically anything a human does has OODA loop in it. Brushing your teeth. I observe the toothbrush. I orient myself to the toothbrush. I decide to pick it up. The action, I brush my teeth. Every single human function is OODA loop. And it came from an old British pilot of some sort. And it's like a knowledge of your body in motion and how to capitalize on that body in motion. I just want to throw that out there. So it's something I learned not a few years ago. I just want to share.
Dude, you're very deep, dude. You're much deeper than I am. I'm shallow compared to you, man.
Dude, I'm shallow too, dude. No, dude, I'm shallow too, dude.
Oh man. So going back to Dirty Fest, dude, I will be there. I will be there, and I will be doing interviews. I will be broadcasting live from Dirty Fest. Thanks to Mike Miranda. He promised I could go. So so myself and Danny Pena, we'll be there.
Awesome. All right. Well, tell me offline, dude. Hey, Kevin, kudos. You got an awesome platform. Thank you for letting me come on, take the time with me, bro. You're the man.
No problem. Thank you. And to all you guys out there, I appreciate all the riders watching, commenting, sharing, everything. Thank you very much. If you would like to support the channel, I will be selling merch very soon in about another week or two. You could support me that way, or you can subscribe to the channel. Danny V, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Until next week, everybody, the track is closed. Peace out.
All right. Take care. Thanks,
Later,
guys.
man.
Bye. Bye-bye.